welcome to your community update. I'm Angela Stepp. Would like to let you know that the information today will be rebroadcast here on WSOT TV at 5:30 p.m. and then again at 10:30 p.m. So today at 5:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. here on WSOT TV. It'll also be made available for distribution online as well. And then also Sunday here on WSOT TV, that's August the 2nd at 10 a.m. and again at 5:30 p.m. And we'd like to say a great big thank you to our local media who helped to share the information that is broadcast here. So thank you to the Chronicle Tribune, WBAT, the News Herald, and the many others who helped to distribute this information. Joining us first today will be Grant County Commissioner Mark Bardsley. Welcome.
Thank you, Angela. It's always good to be here. And thank you again to our media partners that are assisting in getting this information out to you. Yesterday, the Grant County government had its first meeting with regard to vote centers, and we held that meeting at the city or county council chambers. But the next meeting that's coming up, in case you didn't get to be at that public meeting, will be Thursday, August 27th, and that will be at the College Wesleyan Church evening time. It's either 6 or 6:30, and you can get more information at our website, grantcounty.net, and get information on that meeting, what we wanted you to know about that. Vote centers are coming. We're going to have change as we move to the general election, so it's exciting, and it's going to be much easier and more availability to vote at different places throughout the county. Just want to remind you of expectations as you would come into any county government buildings. The masks are being required as you come in to do your business. Please be aware of that. And we'll talk a little bit more about the mask here in just a little bit. But wanted to just remind you, if you do have business, recorder's office, the auditor's office, treasurer, and or the assessor's office, health department for that matter, make sure that you do wear your mask as you come in, and we'll appreciate that very much. Yesterday, the CDC reported that we had 147,000 deaths in the United States thus far, and that translates into specifically 29 deaths in the Grant County area. It's very important that we continue to watch our numbers, and we've asked Ms. Amber to share with us some new information. I don't know if she has it yet, but we're going to get it to you when we do have it, about how many folks are recovering in the Grant County area regarding those who have tested positive. But we're still watching those numbers. We're still wanting to express great concern that you continue to do your physical distancing as well as wear your protective equipment as well. We appreciate that. We are still at stage 4.5, according to the governor, and we do not know how quickly we'll move to that next and final stage where we start seeing more things actively back to normal. It's supposed to sunset August 3rd and to move into the next step, but as you may recall, the governor just on Monday extended the requirement of face masks that will go all the way through August 26th. And so we don't know if we'll continue a state of emergency or whether we'll start letting that sunset now or not. But we'll continue to follow what the governor is directing and try and convey that and live up to those standards. Did want to tell you that with the executive order that the governor gave us for the entire state, inside businesses, public buildings, and other indoor places where the public gathers, you are being required to wear face masks. And again, that is for your protection as well as those around you. We've had plenty of folks talk about, well, it's my right to not wear this, or it should be forced upon folks. And there are some businesses that will not allow you to even enter the door if you don't have that face mask on. Just a reminder that any business has the right to offer services or hold services if the customer is not complying with what the requirements of that particular store are. So please be aware of that. When you're in public, it's better, especially if you're going to be in close proximity, make sure you have that face mask to protect yourself as well as others. Inside, of course, if you can maintain a social distance of 6 feet, masks probably are not going to be imperative, especially at your workstation. If you're at home, that's not required at all. But if you're in a place where there are folks that are outside your family or your comfort zone, please, again, make sure that you're wearing your masks. Just some other guidelines with regard to Hoosiers on this continuing stage 4.5. Those of you who are 65 and older, especially with health risks, again, social distancing is important. Protective gear is important, and in fact, it's imperative, especially if you have health risks. Social gatherings of up to 250 people may follow the CDC guidelines and gather, but over 250, and you have to have special permission from the health board, or the health department, excuse me. Outdoor visitation with regard to assisted living facilities and nursing homes. You can call that facility and you can talk with them about their hours. The government is requiring a certain amount of time now that you can be with your loved ones or your friends in a visitation type of thing, as well as at the hospital. Again, call the hospital or that healthcare facility to find out what those rules are regarding visitation. So many things are going on, and I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get a little bit tired. Sometimes I'm a little bit faint. I grow a little bit weary. But Isaiah chapter 40, verse 29 says, He, God, gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. I needed that promise today. I needed that promise this week. And I want to encourage you. You've been doing well. We have come through literally weeks and months of this pandemic, and as we continue to work together, we're gonna overcome with His help. So, as always, be safe, be steady, be strong. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Mark. I have personally been recipient of that promise that he just shared in Isaiah for that strength, and so good words of wisdom. Joining us next will be Nurse Amber Turner from the Grant County Health Department. And Amber, what do you have to share with us today? I know you've got some important information.
Thanks for having me. I'm Amber Turner. I'm the public health nurse for the Grant County Health Department. Mark had mentioned with some changes and getting some new information. I don't have that information at this time, but I will get that information to him and we can get that relayed as we can. I know that just from conversations with people in the community or phone calls that we've gotten, people are asking, questioning why we report numbers that are higher than what the state reports. So to give a little bit of clarification, it does make it a little bit hard to explain, but because we're always in this on a daily. But the state is going to report what are positive confirmed cases. Back in April, the State Department of Health has asked local health departments to report not only confirmed cases of COVID-19, but also clinical cases. Those individuals have presented with symptoms that are similar to COVID. If they got tested, they did not come back positive, they came back negative, or everything has been ruled out. It's not the flu, it's not strep throat, other illnesses. So we have asked to treat themselves as if they were COVID because the testing is not 100% accurate. So you can have an individual that can have a false reading on a swab. So they ask that we report both. So our number is always going to be higher than what the state reports. So the number that they gave you are the actual lab confirmed positive cases, and we integrate the clinical cases along with that. The deaths are at 29. So today we are at 689 with 29 deaths. And the deaths are reported either if they're locally or if they are out of county, we get that reported to us. So just to make some clarification on that.
That's very helpful, yeah.
The State Department of Health has a very good website that breaks it down on a map. You can specifically click on Grant County. It will break it down to how many people have been positive, the number of people that have been tested, and that percentage of the number have been tested, I think it's like 6.9 maybe. I could be off a couple of like tenths of half of a point or a percentage. So it will break it down to the percentage of those people that got tested, how many were positive. It breaks it down by gender, by race, by age. We still want to continue to let everybody know the physical distancing, wearing your mask when you are out in public and you can't be 6 feet apart from each other. We still want to enforce that. Also, if you have a compromised immune system or you are 65 or older, to be very cautious about when you're out and about and following those guidelines, or if you have somebody that can help you, go run your errands or your grocery shopping for you. And the big thing has been the mask. The foods division, because they get a lot of calls about the mask with restaurants. So I wanted to integrate on that today. That the governor has signed that executive order that went in effect on Monday, July the 27th, and that will remain in effect till August the 26th. The Grant County Health Department, we follow the governor's mandate, and then we ask that our people of the county do the same. Wear your mask when you're not able to socially distance safely, or anytime when you're not in your own home. Restaurant employees are required to wear a mask or an approved face covering. Some individuals cannot wear a mask due to health conditions, and we've gotten a couple calls of that. So in certain situations, a face shield is appropriate because it does cover your nose and your mouth. If you can wear both, it's just extra protection. If somebody calls the health department, we're referring people to 211. They have made specifically for COVID concerns or questions. If that situation is not resolved, then they can call the health department and we can go from there. We don't legally have the action to go to every single business for the mask. So we are asking that everybody will do their due diligence and wear their mask when they're out and about. It not only is helpful for yourself, but helpful for other people that you may be in contact with due to some people are not symptomatic. Another thing to add on to that is there are guidelines that we ask that people follow. There are recommendations that we have been given from the CDC. If a person is positive, 24 hours with no fever, that's not taking any medicine, your symptoms have to be improving, and it has to be 10 days from when your symptoms started. If you've been in close contact with somebody, which you will be contacted by the Indiana State Department of Health if you've been in close contact with a positive, for the 14-day quarantine. The reason that the 14-day quarantine is the incubation period for the virus is 2 to 14 days. So somebody may not develop symptoms at all, and that's a blessing. Some people may not develop symptoms until that 10th day after they've been exposed. So that's why the 14 day is very important. Even with the testing, at that moment you got tested and it was negative, but it doesn't mean in a couple of days that you could not become symptomatic and end up being positive. So we are just looking for their safety and their health and everybody that they may be in contact with to help slow the spread of this virus, because we all want our schedules to go back to, I don't like to use the word normalcy, but we want some kind of schedule and regularness in our life. Yes, a routine. So I want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that this virus is new to all of us. We are on uncharted territory. We have never been through this before. I can tell you from the health department standard that this virus and guidelines changed in the very beginning. It literally was from hour to hour. We can learn something at 10 and it changed at noon. But it still is daily changing. The more they learn, the more they'll make these adjustments. So we ask that you be patient with everybody throughout our community and our leaders, because we really do want the best for our community as far as safety and health. You know, I have talked to some people that I've been out and about, and they have not been treated kindly by having to enforce the mask. So I just ask that everybody remember those people are working and they're trying to do the best that they can do, but they also have to follow the guidelines that they have been implemented from their employer. So be kind to the person that asked you to please put your mask on. They're not doing it personally against you. They're just trying to follow the rules because they still want to have a job. And we really want the safety and the health of our whole entire community. And I know the schools are working hard too to keep the kids safe. So we just want everybody to be kind, respectful to each other, and everybody has everybody's best intention for this. And it really is a moving target at times. So be patient with us if some guidelines change, because we're just doing what we've been asked to do.
Very helpful insights. Thank you for taking the time to come share that with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, joining us next, we will be hearing from Superintendent of Marion Community Schools, Dr. Brad Lindsay. And Dr. Lindsay, I want to welcome you. And wow, school starts August the 5th, and you have some abbreviated schedules for on-site and some very important information that parents and guardians need to have. So share with us what the plans for the opening of school looks like.
Sure. Well, thank you, Angela. And if I could, before I do that, we just heard from Commissioner Mark Bardsley, representing our entire county, and Nurse Grant County Public Health, Amber Turner. And I just want to thank people for being courageous leaders and servants. Yes. To serve us, because as we've mentioned, this is this is New Frontier. Oh, yeah. This is my 11th year as a superintendent of schools. It's my first year. It's my rookie year underneath the COVID. We're learning every single day, and a goal for schools as we're starting back next Wednesday, and all the schools here in Grant County within the next couple of weeks will be starting for Marion Community Schools Wednesday, August 5. A goal for us through this COVID is to find ways to keep the school operations going. And Angela, here's what I mean by that. Since July 6th, when we've opened back up our campuses, and we're seeing across the county and state and country a spike in new cases. And then obviously, if you've been in contact, the proactive health safety guidelines to quarantine for 14 days. That's just the way that it is for all of our safety. But we've already experienced, even last week, we have an employee, and students aren't on campus, so it's all adults that had COVID positive. So as we do the contact tracing, a great partnership with the Grant County Public Health, and Amber Turner and Dr. Moore and the group does a fantastic job on very limited resources and numbers of people, but in partnership with us. And we spent about 5 hours. Our nurse and our director of facilities in this particular case were two people that stepped up to do the investigating along with the county health of the contact tracing. About 5 hours, about 30-some people get contacted. And as we got through, identified that 6 people needed to be quarantined because they had been within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more within a 48-hour period of once we know that someone's identified COVID positive. And so the reality is then, as we're preparing for school, that group of people could not be on campus preparing for this week. That's just the way that it's happening. You know, that's what's been happening in the industry in the last 4.5 months, but schools, we haven't been on campus. We were doing at-home learning when we began last March. So coming back on campuses, look, we're going to try to find ways to keep the school operations going. And I'm going to ask that people with great character and commitment that want to serve children, if you're willing to be a sub in the classroom as a teacher, in our food service, in the kitchen preparing the food, get your bus driver's license and become a bus driver, custodial maintenance, every area of school operations, we need subs. Why? Because across the county, state, and country, COVID positive is going to happen. The 14-day quarantines for everyone's safety is going to happen. And at those particular times, that may cause stops in school operations, in a classroom, in a school, or in a district. These are just uncertain times. So one, as we continue to learn more, in the governor's order last week, when the governor's talking about masks 24/7, 365 for students 8 and up in school, outside of school, or grades 3 and up. That's a proactive measure. It took courage. Now, the governor did say in our classrooms, if we can find now, he says 3 feet or greater spacing, all desks facing the same direction, that there could be masks at that time removed, the face coverings removed for the instruction. Desk at least 3 feet separation, facing the same direction. So that gives us some flexibility. You know, to keep staying in school, it is more doable 3 feet or more separation then 6, and again facing the same direction, also with breakfast or also with lunch. So there's some of those kind of flexibility. But when we look at that, in these uncertain times, at Marion Community Schools, based on the new information and based on the recent cases, an increase of cases and quarantines that follow, we've made a decision for first semester, beginning August 14 through first semester, to try to create something certain as a proactive, it's a mitigation strategy. So on Fridays, beginning August 14th, all students will be at home e-learning. Our staff will still come into work that day. They will communicate home with our families. There'll be lessons for families. They will plan, they will train, they will collaborate, they will prepare for that next week, and we'll practice that social distancing. That becomes now something that's certain in uncertain times.
Very helpful for families who need to figure out a way to have childcare in the mix, and if they know every Friday is a guaranteed at home, and how fun also, they kind of get a 3-day weekend, even though they're going to be learning from home.
Well, thank you. I hope our families will understand that. But the reality is we're trying to keep school operations going, and this is part of our mitigation strategy. But also we want to keep learning going. You know, right now we have over 1,100 students that families have signed up for our Giant Online Academy. That's at-home learning, Giant Online Academy, with a teacher that will be assigned and a device and assignments. Over 1,100. We're expecting right at 2,500 on campus coming Wednesday, and we've got schedules for everyone because, you know, if you enrolled last May, you're still enrolled now, but we do need everyone's updated contact information because we all need to know at any given time when there's a COVID positive test, we will do a contact tracing in partnership with Grant County Public Health, and quarantines will follow. Now, one thing that we're looking at Marion Community Schools, last week with the State Department of Health on the governor's, and you can find that online, the governor's press conference, State Department of Health came on. They're talking about in schools, as schools reopen, on campus, they were calling them pods. So as you contact trace, trying to find all day long, within 6 feet or closer, 15 minutes or more, those are calling pods. We're trying to define pods as classrooms, especially when we're talking about preschool through 4th grade. Because when we have on campus, and we think on-campus learning is so important, we want to have learning. And could you imagine trying to keep preschool kids and kindergarten kids and 1st grade kids separate all day long from hugging and interacting? We want them to have school. You know, it's not a requirement for preschool through 2nd grade to have a face covering. And so we want them to have school, but quite frankly, that classroom, and we have them cohort bubbled all day long, if a teacher or a student within a elementary classroom in Marion Community Schools, preschool through 4th grade, gets COVID positive, that whole class will be considered a pod as you really look at it. That whole class then would be quarantined for everyone's safety for the 14 days, and at-home learning will continue. We'll just keep that cohort as a group together. So that's one of the things with PK4. When it becomes to 512, 5-6, we can do that pretty well, but there you go to different specials. 712, it's just going to be contact tracing because students have different schedules all day long. But the 3 things I'd just like to remind that all the health experts, there's a reason health experts say 15 minutes or more within 6 feet. So as much as we can all be conscious to not be 15 minutes or more within 6 feet, that's how it's transmitting. That's why the quarantine. So let's be very conscious of that. Let's be very conscious when we can't have that social distancing to make sure we follow the governor's order for everyone's safety to be face coverings or masks. And then also what health experts continue to tell us is frequent hand washing. So we're going to practice all of those things. Angela, we do care for our families. We want to meet the needs and preferences the best that we possibly can. We want to find ways to keep schools' operations going. It's a mitigation strategy to do that during these uncertain times, to go ahead and identify those Fridays. That's what we're doing there. And so we care for our families. Uncertain times, as Commissioner Bardsley said, as Amber Turner said, we've all got to be patient. This is new frontiers. Industry's been out there the last 4.5 months, but coming back to school is now a new thing underneath this COVID. We've got to be patient. We're preparing to be flexible and agile. We're going to keep communication flowing every single day with new information and weekly. We've got to keep communication going. We're asking for collaboration and cooperation. We care for our community. We care for our county, state, nation. We want to follow the orders, and we want to follow the health experts for schools reopening in-class guidelines that are updated. We all must follow those. All of us everywhere, COVID positive, 14-day quarantine. It's just going to happen. Families, please be prepared for stops in school operations when that occurs. But we're doing everything we can to keep schools open and to keep learning going. Community, this COVID fight, we've got to come together. And when we come together and fight, tight as a fist, as a community, that's our best chance to win. When we see great things happening in this county, it's when we come together. And this COVID pandemic is brand new. We're having to make decisions the best we possibly can to be proactive with this. But please, let's stay together. Let's stay together and fight this COVID.
So before you leave, we're going to keep on going with that thought. And there is a reason that Marion Giants are global leaders academically and beyond. So as we talked about last week, but I want to real quick just reiterate some important information. So make sure I have this right. August 5 through 7, it is grades K through 4. They're going to be dismissed early at 1:30 p.m.
Which is about 45 minutes early,
earlier.
First 3 days of school, next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, August 5, 6, and 7, correct.
Good. And then on those same dates, grades 5 through 12, they're dismissed at 2:45.
Which is about an hour early those first 3 days. The reason being, because it's our first days, we want to problem solve and collaborate and debrief and plan for best possible experience for your child and family as we move forward to the on-campus learning, which we want our students on campus. We're just trying to find ways to make that happen.
That's good. And so you're going to keep then starting August 14th through the first semester, which is December the 18th. You're going to keep Fridays as at-home e-learning days.
For everybody.
For everybody, all grade levels.
It is. And it's so important that we're trying to keep on-campus learning and our giant online learning consistent and synchronous as much as possible. So when there are quarantines or perhaps there's future orders that may occur as a result of health safety that we saw in March, we're already prepared to keep learning going, whether that be on campus, which was our heart's desire, or at-home learning. We're prepared for both, and that's the purpose of why we're doing this. We're trying to be meet the needs and preferences the best we can. We want to be good at it. We want to keep operations going. And please, if you know people of high character and commitment that are willing to care for kids as a classroom, food service, transportation, custodial maintenance sub, we need subs, and that will help us keep operations going whenever there are quarantines.
So true. Well, one other thing that you mentioned that I think is super important to reiterate again, and that is make sure if your contact information changes since you last gave it to the school, that you be proactive and take that responsibility to contact the school and let them know your new updated contact information, correct?
Correct, Angela. Thank you.
Yes,
if you enrolled last May and you've not withdrawn, we have schedules made for you. So if you've not actually gone ahead and enrolled like over 1,100 have on the At-Home Giant Online Academy, about 2,500, we're prepared for you next Wednesday. We've got teachers assigned. We've got schedules made. But your updated contact information is so essential for us, especially during this COVID pandemic.
Very good. Well, thank you, Dr. Lindsay. We really appreciate you coming and sharing that information with us today, and we all wish the very best for the start of the new school season. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, as we conclude today's community update, I'd like to remind you that the information shared today will be re-aired here on WSOT-TV at 5:30 p.m. today, and additionally at 10:30 p.m. today, also Sunday, August the 2nd at 10 a.m., and then again at 5:30 p.m. Great big thank you again to our local media, the Chronicle Tribune, the News Herald, WBAT, the City of Marion, and many others that helped to spread this important information. Stay tuned for some more quality family programming that you can trust right here on Sunnycrest Outreach Television.